Joe Boorady of Johnson & Johnson Vision, thanks for joining us. One of the trends that we're seeing is the work that optometrists and ophthalmologists are doing together. I think we're seeing more and more of that, although admittedly it's been happening for quite a long time. I know you've been tracking it for a decade or two. How do you see this shaping up? Well, first, give us a state of the cooperation between optometrists and ophthalmologists, and where is TearScience fitting into that?
Yeah, so thanks for having me back on, Tom. I really appreciate it. And yeah, TearScience, the technology, the LipiFlow technology, has been used by both optometrists and ophthalmologists. And in the last 2 or 3 years, particularly since we've adjusted price points about 3 years ago, it brought a lot more optometrists into that technology. And what it allowed us to do is really appreciate the power of the optometrist treating dry eye, particularly prior to cataract surgery or refractive surgery, educating the patients on the importance of a healthy ocular surface to being successful and having a successful refractive or cataract surgery. And dry eye is something that optometrists have been dealing with for a very long time as primary care providers, particularly in the contact lens business as well. And Johnson & Johnson has a lot of experience there with the AccuView contact lens brand, and so for over 30 years, Johnson & Johnson's been aware of dry eye and contact lenses, one of the #1 reasons for dropout of contact lenses today. And so what's great about our technology, with TearScience integrated into the Johnson & Johnson portfolio, it perfectly positions itself between both optometry and ophthalmology, where Johnson & Johnson Vision Surgical Division focuses more on cataract surgery and refractive, which is a little bit more in the MD space, and the contact lens division has always focused more in the optometry space and in the contact lens. And so our technology is perfectly positioned right in the middle of those two, and it helps to bridge the O's. It brings the two more together.
I like that.
That's right.
Joe, why don't you give us an update of the commercial rollout?
Yeah, sure, happy to. So we've been selling the technology now for 5 years as TearScience, and now as part of Johnson & Johnson Vision, we have the power of the Johnson & Johnson field sales force as well. So we're going to be able to leverage the entire network of Johnson & Johnson sales individuals throughout the world, really, not just in the US, but really globally. And so we're really excited about taking the technology. It's already been approved in about 23 countries. We've successfully sold it in about 12 countries. And so we're very excited about leveraging the power of the surgical sales team throughout the world that has great relationships with MDs globally. And then with the optometry sales reps as well, the contact lens sales reps with the contact lens division also. So we're really focused on making sure that the entire J&J network of salespeople have the opportunity to be part of this technology.
And you've got 800 practices so far using the devices?
So far in the history of TearScience, we've been able to acquire over 800 practices as part of our network that have purchased the technology. What's great is most of those practices, we have solo practices, but we also have large group practices, even large medical centers. So we have thousands of doctors, optometrists and ophthalmologists using the technology on a daily basis.
So what is the state of OD-MD cooperation? And where is it going in the future? What is the state of it today?
Yeah, great question. I mean, integrated eye care is so critical for delivering care. The number of ophthalmologists over time is decreasing. The number of optometrists continues to increase. There have been at least 5 new schools since I've graduated from optometry school. So the number of ODs continues to increase. The aging population also continues to increase, so more surgeries are being needed with fewer physicians, and a lot more primary care needs to be delivered. So the beautiful thing is technology is advancing as well. So our ability to do more accurate, faster refractions, to do more automated diagnostics for medical conditions continues to advance. And so it's allowing, the technology is also an enabler, and it's allowing the optometrist to do more, and it's allowing the ophthalmologist to focus more on surgical intervention as well. And these integrated eye care models are just going to become more and more prevalent, particularly with the influence of private equity today. They are seeing the integrated model as the key to being successful in delivering efficient high quality healthcare delivery in the future. And so those models will continue to grow, and I just continue to see that as an emphasis over the next several years.
Is the profile of an optometrist changing in terms of their willingness or interest in new technologies?
Absolutely, yeah, no, great question. If you look at OCT sales, if you look at treatments being performed, whether it's prescribing medications and so forth, the largest growth segment seems to be optometry almost consistently across disease segments. So certainly we see that very prevalent in dry eye. Half of all of our sales at TearScience have been to optometrists, half to ophthalmologists. And if you look at treatments being performed, even in the ophthalmologist's office, a lot of the optometrists in those practices are doing the treatment. So we estimate about 70% or more of our treatments being performed by an optometrist, whether it's in an MD or OD office. And so, I continue to see that as well, that optometrists are playing a more front and center role in the early diagnosis and early treatment of many of these conditions, and then managing them to a point where they need surgical or more advanced intervention, and then handing that off to the subspecialist ophthalmologist, or in some cases a general ophthalmologist.
Well, we were talking off camera, and you mentioned 25 years ago you saw this cooperation forming between the two. 25 years later, it's not quite where you thought it would be. Well, I ask you to look forward anyway, even though we just revealed how maybe sometimes precise those forecasts are.
Yeah.
But look ahead 10 years from now. How will the role of the optometrist change 10 years from now? How will their practices be different? What sort of procedures do you think might they be doing?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I absolutely continue to see this advance, but at a much more rapid pace. And I think with influence of, like I said before, private equity and other corporate entities kind of forcing this model to be much more prevalent, I see more and more procedures absolutely being put more into the optometrist's hands earlier. So really up to their level of competency. So a lot of what they're able to do is really dictated by the training, education, comfort level of the optometrist. So they have to practice clearly within their scope, but I see them maximizing that and really performing at the highest level of their practice. And more of the routine procedures like a refraction that were typically performed by the optometrist, I see more and more technicians performing those, particularly now with more automated instrumentation. So we just continue to move up that chain, and I do think that allows this dynamic to happen a little bit more faster than we've seen over the last 25 years. And so it's technology enabled, I think it's marketplace enabled, and I think it's just a function of the economics of it. As I said, the fewer ophthalmologists are not going to be able to perform the amount of procedures that need to be performed, so they are going to have to delegate more to optometrists.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. We look forward to tracking this trend going forward.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate being here.